The Social Fest is a two-day extravaganza that celebrates the spirit of social good. This is the vision that Team Abhyuday shall work to uphold. The theme of this year's festival is, "We are not disabled, we are differently abled." We will be having different events like workshops, lecture series, cultural events, unsung heroes, blindfolded movie screening, all concerning physically and mentally impaired folks in one or the other way. We welcome you to be India's largest student-run movement for social good. Today, we are honored to have with us Mr. Pravin Dixit, IPS, former DGP Maharashtra. Mr. Dixit was selected in the Indian Police Service, IPS, in the year 1977 and was assigned to the Maharashtra State Cadre. Mr. Dixit served as the Superintendent of Police, SP, Raigad in the year 1985. He has worked in the Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, and is among those chosen few officers who have served in the Indo-Tibetan Border Police, ITBP, at Leh Ladakh. Mr. Dixit was also acknowledged for his contribution towards national security. He was awarded the President's Medal for Meritorious Service in the year 1997. Government of India and Ministry of External Affairs selected Mr. Dixit to work as coordinator and in charge of a team of training experts and deputed him to Government of Mauritius under Indian Technological and Economic Cooperation from 2004 to 2006. On his return from Mauritius, Mr. Dixit was assigned to chair as Special IG Investigation in the Maharashtra State Human Rights Commission. Since August 2010 till September 2011, Mr. Dixit functioned as Principal Secretary Special and was in charge of the law and order situation under the Home Department of Government of Maharashtra. In view of his consistent contribution to national security, on the recommendation of the State Government of Maharashtra, the President of India awarded him the President's Medal for Distinguished Services on the occasion of Independence Day in 2011. Mr. Dixit took over as Director General, Anti-Corruption Bureau, Maharashtra State on October 1, 2013. It was during this assignment that he launched vigorous campaign against corrupt public servants throughout the state and conducted more than 2,300 traps. With this, I would like to welcome Mr. Dixit onto the stage. Good afternoon, sir, and thank you for
Good afternoon. Thank you.
coming with us this afternoon. I would like to start off with the questions first. My first question is, what or who was your motivation to take up this profession? Was it a childhood dream or some event or experience that particularly inspired you?
Okay. So at the very outset, let me congratulate all of you. First of all, for being in the IIT after the competitive exam. And number two, after getting selected, still finding time to attend a function like this when you are deciding to look beyond this institute. Now coming to the question which you asked. In those days there used to be examination called SSC, that is the School Leaving Certificate. And when I was appearing in the 11th exam, there was an article in one of the local dailies by one Captain Shivram Damle from Maharashtra Mandal in Pune. So he mentioned that how is it that the students from the state are not appearing for the administrative services, and that is making a tremendous loss to the state in particular, as well as to the nation in general. And after reading that article, it disturbed me a lot. I said, how and why is it that the students are not going for this kind of examination when they should? So before, you can say almost when I was about to pass or when the results were about to come, I made a choice that I am going to try my luck for the administrative services, and thus denied myself the chance of joining either the medical or engineering faculty, and walked into the BA with economics, BA with political science, BA with all the humanities subjects, and followed this path towards the examination. Okay.
So my next question is, it's been seen that the top rankers of civil services exams go for IAS, then IPS, and then IRS. Why is this trend existent? What's the reason according to you?
No, I would say it is true that by and large people do select IAS as their first preference, but it all depends upon the individual. Some of the students who have been selected, they are preferring to join the IPS even when they were one of the toppers and not joining the IAS. Some of them had joined the Indian Foreign Service. Some of those who were in the IRS, they have left IRS and come to IPS. So it's all a combination depending upon the individual personality. It depends how you look at it. But of course, not because that I come from the IPS branch, but I feel the amount of satisfaction, the amount of interaction, the amount of recognition for your whatever contribution you are able to make is tremendous from the police. Because that is the public face of the entire government. When the police, whether it is a constable, whether it is an IPS officer, whether it is a senior officer, he distinguishes himself from the rest of the society instantaneously. And some people have fascination for it, maybe gents, maybe ladies, and they prefer that. But it all depends upon the individual. I particularly am very happy that I decided to join this section and completed my innings as I could. Yes.
So had you gotten a chance to go for IAS or IRS, would you have still chosen IPS?
Well, you see, in those days, we had an option. At the age of 20, you could write the Indian Police Service examination. And at the age of 21, you can appear for the Indian Administrative Services. So there was a distinction between the two. I was 20 and I appeared and I was selected.
Okay, sir. So our next question is, as a civil
Of
servant
course,
in
I may
uniform-
say that during the interview, Mr. Mattu, who was the chairman of the UPSC that time, he mentioned to me that we are selecting you for the IPS as you have appeared, but I hope you will appear again and join the IAS in the next time.
Sir, our next question is, as a civil servant in uniform, you must have had your fair share of trials and tribulations. What are your most unforgettable struggles?
No, trials, they are not in the what you understand as the court trial. It's much larger than that. Say, for example, as all of you are aware, next to Mumbai port, we have a port called, nowadays it's called, I think, JNPT, Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust. In those days, it was known as the Nahwa Sheva port. It's a very unique place where the depth of the waters is more than, I think, maybe some 200 meters or something. So it's a very good port, much better than even Mumbai port. But somehow the government was not able to execute it. And accumulatively, the pressure on Mumbai port was increasing. And the ships used to get delayed and all the connected problems were happening. So the then Chief Minister called me. He said, we have made a decision to acquire the land for Nhava Sheva port and we want this to be executed. So I said, no problem, we will make our best efforts to ensure it. And with the government backing and with our efforts, whatever we could do, we did succeed. There was some kind of a disturbance, some law and order problem during that time. But finally, the government was successful in dissuading all the protesters, and the project ran through. And today, when you look back, maybe after 30 years, you have a tremendous satisfaction that now JNPT has emerged as one of the most crowded kind of a port, and making a tremendous contribution to the national growth. So your small efforts, if they can change the society, I think that gives you a tremendous sense of satisfaction.
So you've worked at a lot of places in a variety of positions. Which one would you consider the best experience?
Well, in fact, apart from the assignments, every day is a new challenge. And every person that you meet comes with different problems, addressing those issues, sorting them out, and seeing through it. That itself gives you a tremendous satisfaction. As you rightly said, I have worked in so many assignments in India, outside. It's difficult to say. But I think my assignment in Leh Ladakh was definitely very interesting. Not because it was a very difficult area to work, but also because of the number of attachments, number of problems it posed. So first of all, it was facing the border with China. Now, how our Jawan stays on China border, it's an eye-opener. We do hear some stories about Siachen Glacier, how things are happening and all that. But there are areas which are just bordering with Karakoram Pass, where even for getting a letter from your family, it has to be brought by helicopter. So no access to the civil life, no access to anybody outsider than those who are along with you. So there may be just 7-8 persons who are posted in that particular post. There's a place called DBO, Daulat bin Oldi. He was the traveler. So in his name, there's a post called Daulat bin Oldi. So such remote places where the then Prime Minister used to say, not a blade of grass grows. So that kind of places, how our Jawans are working, it's an eye-opener. I mean, all of us who are having all the amenities and all the facilities while we are in any of these metropolitan areas, we still discover a lot of grievances and keep on saying that we are deprived of this and we are deprived of that and we don't get this and therefore we are protesting. I think it's a must for every one of us to be at least in such places, at least once in a while. The other day I was in IIM Ahmedabad, and there's a Professor Gupta there. Some of you might be familiar with him. He takes his students every year, at least for 10 days, to such remote places, just to show them what the ground realities are, make them familiar with them. And he says, now you are free to come up with your own conclusions, come up with your whatever discoveries, research, etc. So similarly, I think if we have to understand India, we should be working in such hard areas, because it is only after working there where the oxygen content, as you know, is hardly 30% than compared to the normal. So the situation is difficult, situation is different. That, for example, in places like Amarnath caves, those hills, how the army functions at a temperature which is minus 50. Now we can't even imagine it.
Yes, sir. So coming to the army personnel, do you think that they need to be given more value, more resources as compared to what they're getting right now?
No, it's a comparative thing. you cannot say that whatever has been given is all, because see, the government runs by like the economy. It is a fixed cake which has to be shared by several persons or several resources, several requirements. So out of that, the government does try to give the maximum share possible to the army personnel or to the security personnel as well.
Okay, sir.
We cannot say that that is adequate or that is enough. It's a comparative thing. If you compare a soldier, what he gets maybe in US or in some other country, and what the soldier in India may be getting, we cannot say that he is at par. But the government is trying their best. The intention is very clear. The government does want to give you the best possible amenities that is possible.
Yes, sir. So, would you like to describe your experiences with the Anti-Corruption Bureau?
Well, there is hardly any requirement to describe it. You have to just do it. These are things where you should not tolerate any corruption, whether it is by a person at the highest level or person at whatever level he may or she may be. But it is definitely saddening to see the human greed which is pervasive everywhere. And I think it is that particular area where technology can really change things. For example, we had launched a web portal, we had launched a very easy way for a commoner to access the anti-corruption officers by his mobile or through his mobile. And you can reach any officer. In fact, we used to say that no need to reach the Anti-Corruption Bureau. The Anti-Corruption Bureau officer will reach you wherever you are. And that made the whole difference. They said, we are not going to work just in the fixed hours of the office, maybe from 9:30 to 5:30 or whatever the office timings are. But we shall be available where you need us and whenever you need us. And that sent a strong message. The complainants had tremendous trust in our capacity. And when they saw that the ACB officers are with them, I remember one of the officers telling me once that he had to literally run after the person who was indulging in corrupt affairs for continuously 3 days. He was making the complainant run from place to place just to avoid any chance of getting detected. But our officer also persisted and finally did catch the culprit.
So there may be some big shots who might be indulged in corruption, and there repercussions of handing them punishments.
No, please repeat.
There may be big shots who might be indulged in corruption, and the common people might feel that there are repercussions of reporting them. So there might be such cases. What can we do to improve this situation?
No, you are right. See, the apprehension is always there in the mind of the complainant. And therefore, the complainant needs to be protected, encouraged, not just when he is making complaint, but even subsequently. Because that is the actually starting point. He feels, I remember, for example, in BMC, in Mumbai Corporation, one of the builder, he had come to me. I said, for last more than 8 years, most of his projects, plans, whatever he was submitting, they are neither getting approved nor any progress is taking place. And most of the things are all flooded with corrupt practices. So we did counsel him, we did sit with him for 3-4 sessions, convinced him, and finally he managed to come forward, made the complaint. And once we caught the executive engineer and couple of others who were indulging in it, there was a miraculous change in the attitude towards him by all the BMC officers. Earlier, when he was visiting the office of the executive engineer, even after paying the bribe, still he would be insulted, still he would be not even offered a chair to sit down, and he will be at the receiving end of all abuses. After the trap, he was telephoned by the concerned officers, please come, we are clearing your project, we are clearing your plans. When he reached the office, to his utter surprise, he was offered even a cup of tea, and all his, whatever was pending for last 7-8 years, was cleared in 1 month. So that is the miraculous change that you can witness. So I would say that there is no reason at all. See, who should be afraid? Those who are indulging in criminal activities, and not those who are straightforward, those who are looking forward for working as per the rules. It is the other way around. Those who are working and following all the rules, they are afraid, they are apprehensive, they are feeling shy. Of what? Of the criminals.
Yes, sir.
That's a very wrong way of happening. Okay.
Sir, you must have had to make important decisions on numerous occasions. If in such cases there was a conflict between your personal principles and the protocol, how did you resolve them?
No, as you say, when all of you are not only students of technology, but I'm sure also having exposure to management. Decision making is an important subject. It calls for a lot of training, it calls for a lot of determination, it calls for leadership and all those things. Now, whenever there is a conflict of what you think proper, what somebody else may be telling you to do, so you have to make a distinction whether it is just technically or legalistically that you are trying to do something, or whether there is something beyond it. The other day, I was reading an article. I'm sure it is available on the social media, so many of you also must have accessed it. It said, it gives 2-3 stories from different countries. The story starts by mentioning that one person in China went to a bank and said, I want to have loan. So the bank officer told him, you have to give fingertips because we don't accept signature and we only take fingerprints. So he said, that's fine, but my hands are not existing. I don't have hands. They've been amputated or something was there, or from birth he did not have. Then the bank officer said crudely, sorry, the rule does not permit it. Unless you give your fingerprints, you won't be given the loan. Now, you see, the rules are made for, after all, whom? For the human beings. There is a human face beyond development. Now, what is President Trump getting elected and shouting and being all that, what is happening? What is he saying? All the companies, whether it is National Panasonic or whether it is, I think some big companies and all that, they want to say that we want to save money, so we want to transfer our project from here to Mexico. Now, what is going to happen to the labor who have been depending upon the project in US? Now, the companies naturally say that, no, we are not bothered about it. We are only worried about our profits or losses, whether we make or not. And if that is so, we have to change on, we have to go to other places. Now, sometime or the other, you have to look at the human face beyond it. You may be making losses or you may be not making profits. But do you have some kind of a social concern for those who are depending upon you? That is the critical question. And I think that is a question which most of the experts in development are sidetracking it or not paying enough attention. So briefly I would say rules are there, but you as the leader, you have to implement them. And you have to take the decision whether breaking the rule is appropriate or otherwise. See, once, as you all if you know, in Mahabharata, Dharmaraj, after the war is over, goes to Bhishma when he was lying on the arrow bed and asks him what is right and what is wrong. And the short reply that Bhishma gives him at that time is, the dharmasya rupam sukshmam. Dharma means not religion as we understand, but in the context of larger things of what is right and what is wrong. Suppose dharma is supposed to be a right thing. So what is right and what is wrong? The short answer is, if the intention of your action is right, then what you do, even if it appears to be wrong, is still correct. The example was given, suppose if a cow is going and the butcher is following it, and the cow takes a left turn, you are standing there and the butcher comes and asks where the cow has gone. Now if you are telling him the truth, because all of us are told that Satyameva Jayate, so we have to speak truth. So if we say that yes, on the left hand side the cow has walked, you are definitely going to enable the butcher to kill the cow. So at that time, if you say that no, the cow has gone to the right side and mislead him, you are going to save the cow. And therefore, by saving cow, actually you have done the dharma or the right thing. See, there is a subtle manner in which you have to understand the purpose of everything. If you go to any of the schools of management, they will tell you, say 95% of the persons anywhere, they are those who are abiding by the rules, regulations and follow them in a mechanical manner. But it is only 5% persons who understand why it is being done, what is the purpose of it, and then do it. If you understand, I think if you understand the purpose, then this kind of a conflict does not appear in your mind. The answer to your question is that what happens to it? You should say, like Mahatma Gandhi used to say, whether your action is really going to benefit the last person in the society. If it is happening so, well, whatever you may do in the between, even if it appears to be wrong, still I would say it is correct. That is it.
So, is there any particular interesting incident that you would like to share with us?
Well, I think we can reserve it. We can have some discussion about the preparations that you would like to learn, and then we can have a second round of more interactive session. I was reading and listening to the theme of Abhyuday before the speech started. And let me congratulate all of you, first of all, for starting an exercise like this. It is basically to identify the societal ills, maybe corruption, maybe environmental degradation, maybe security related issues, maybe various other things. But if all these societal ills, as I would say, if they are disturbing you, then I think that is the right path on which you are following it. Because if you have the urge to rectify all these ills in your own manner, in your own way, then you are the right person to think about what to do. Well, it is not necessary that all these can be addressed only by following a particular path. So whatever we are going to discuss in the next few minutes, I would only help you to have a broader picture of the positive sides of some of the difficult sides of the public services. And through that, then you are free to make your own decision. The sky is the limit. It may be local problems, it may be the problems of the country, it may be problems of the countries around us, or it may be absolutely international problems. It can be anything. When you join the public service, the first, as you know, the form itself says, it calls for a bond from you and says that I am prepared to work in India or abroad, wherever the government wants me to go. So if you are prepared to do that, when there is nothing very disturbing about it, you don't have to feel very afraid that, oh, tomorrow what will they do? Say, for example, as you know, the World Forum requires Indian security forces, and they have been going there for long years. In fact, India is one of the largest contributor to the United Nations peacekeeping forces. And our officers and men, including women, they are going to all difficult areas in Africa, in Southeast Asia, in places like Haiti, and in Europe and various other places. So you may be called upon to address them anywhere. Basically what it calls for is looking beyond your comfort zones and improving things for the larger community. So if you have that urge, well, basic creatures, basic facilities, you will get everywhere. Today you are here. Once you step out of this house, once you step out of this institute, I am sure you are going to be available internationally. Whether you work in India, whether you work abroad, all the materialistic features, all the whatever you can imagine, having a house, having a vehicle, having a this, that, etc., all that is going to be available to you. Now, are you looking to work beyond it? Are you ready to work beyond it? That is the real question. Secondly, if you love interacting with the people, understand their difficulties, then public service is the right option. A few years ago, there was a student called Miss Garg. Some of you will recall. She was the topper of the UPSC civil services exams. She was a computer engineer. She was working abroad, and after working there for 2 or 3 years, I think she was in Canada perhaps, she decided to leave the job and appear for the UPSC and stood first and joined it. If you look at the, why don't you sit down? Why don't you sit down?
No, sir, it's okay, sir.
Please be comfortable. Now, if you look at the candidates who are selected in last couple of years, a simple look at it will reveal that, say, if 100 students are selected, 100 candidates are selected, I am just giving an example, more than 75% of them, they come from the background of IIT, they come from IIMs, they come from the background of being a CA. Many of them, they come from AIMS, having MS or MD as their qualification. So all the professional services, all the professional courses that we can imagine. And not only that, they have these kind of qualifications. Many of them were also working in multinational corporations. A few of them were working in Singapore, working in Hong Kong, working in London, working in North America and various other places. As well as in India, they have been in the top jobs and having a sumptuous pay package. I mean, I don't have to mention how much they may be drawing, you can imagine. But so none of them was deprived of any financial benefits or any other benefits that you can imagine. And still, all of them, they had discarded whatever comfort zone they were in, whatever courses they had selected, and decided to join the public services. Many of them, they joined the Indian Administrative Service, many of them, they joined the Indian Police Service, many of them, they joined in whatever, there are about, as you know, 30 odd services for which the UPSC conducts exams in the civil services. So many of them, they had joined different services and they are doing very well. Now, what is the difference between the public and the private concerns? So in the public enterprises, public whatever concerns we are talking about, there are huge natural resources, there are huge resources, and we do find that a lot of things are not as they should be. So we start having a coffee house discussion and start criticizing, say that, oh, this is all rubbish, this is all humbug, they are not doing things properly, they are not doing things as they should be. Now, instead of criticizing whatever is happening, why don't we take a chance and try ourselves to improve things? There cannot be a better person than you to improve things. You can do it. And if you do it, I'm sure things will be much better. But for any reason, if you decide not to do it, well, obviously, somebody else is going to occupy that place. And the person who is going to be there, he may or may not be as bright, as straightforward, as sincere, as non-corrupt as you. And therefore, what he or she does, that we have to be either the victims of it or the observers of it. You can take the reins of governance in your own hand and shape them as you want. It gives not only job satisfaction, it gives you status, it gives you money, it gives you house, it gives you vehicle, all that creature comforts that you can imagine. All of these are available to you, to your family and to your friends, if you are reasonable. If you are greedy, well, again, the rules and regulations are there and they will take their own turn to leash you as well. But otherwise, I would say joining the public service is like sitting under a kalpa vruksha. You have to keep on only imagining that I want this, I want that, and that will be available to you. Whether you are posted, like I had a posting in a place like Leh Ladakh. Now, you cannot believe it, the amount of amenities and facilities that the government gives you, even in a place like Ladakh. There was always a helicopter available whenever I wanted to visit any of the places. Any number of vehicles that you can think of. Whenever I wanted to come to the plains, that is Chandigarh or Delhi side, the Air Force aircraft was available. The house and other facilities, of course, all of them are available in abundance. You think of doing some, say, higher studies, you can select the best institute in the world and you can go there. The government gives you sabbatical, whatever the duration of the course, for 2 years, 3 years. Your salary is protected, your job is protected. Whenever you want to come back after the course completing, still the job is available to you, the house continues with you, everything is available. So you are not at all disturbed in any way when you are undergoing the sabbatical as well. Now what is required is basically to have the spirit of fight within you. If you are prepared to move and be wherever you are required, you will have no problems. You cannot keep on saying that I belong to Mumbai, I belong to Bhubaneswar, I belong to so and so place, and therefore I shall continue to remain at that place only. Well, that will not happen. Because as you have left your house for acquiring excellent study, place like IIT Mumbai. Similarly, wherever the job requires, if you are prepared to move, well, then there is no problem. But if you keep on saying, no, I want my all creature comforts, idea is only to stay in Mumbai or place in Delhi or somewhere, well, I'm sorry, things may not be permitted to happen that way. The government it is not that the government will keep on moving you from place to place immediately. They will give you a reasonable period. Sometimes they will give you 3 years, sometimes they may give you 7 years. But 7-8 years is the longest that one can think of, beyond which you should be prepared to move out and be in another place. Once you join the public service, a lot also calls for little bit of sacrifice on the personal level. In the sense, let's say there are some family rituals, maybe some marriages or maybe even the final rites of some near and dear person who has departed. You may or may not be able to reach the place or may not be able to even be present there because the public service does not permit you. You should be prepared to have that kind of a personal detachment from the normal persons. The normal person, yes, it makes no difference whether he goes or he does not go. But the public service teaches you to rise yourself from all these normal requirements of a common person. Because you are different. Once you become a public figure, once you become a public person, public service person, you are different. Now earlier you decide about whether you are the fit person or otherwise is up to you. What happens is, the number of students for different reasons, as I said, they have this realization that, well, because my parents wanted, because my friends wanted, I appeared for the competitive exam, I was selected in the IIT, I joined it. Then once I completed the IIT, everybody said that now you should go to IIM. So okay, now I have decided to join the IIM, so he joins IIM. After that he says, no, now you should be in one of the MNCs, so he joins the MNC. And then at that time, after serving for 2 years, 3 years, etc., realizes, no, this is not the cup for me. I am not suitable for this job and I prefer that I should go for the public service examination. Well, friends, you may be selected, you may get selected at that time, not that you will not get selected, but valuable years have been lost. same amount of years if you had been in the service and started your profession there. It will help you to reach the top level at the appropriate time. Otherwise, see, the time span is fixed. You can have government service maybe maximum up to 60 years of service. So once you are reaching 60, you are going to be out. If you are deciding to join at the age of 32, 33, 34, whatever the chances and the permissions are available, you will be selected. But the total span of your service in the public service would not be more than, in that case, I think some 26 or 27, whatever the number of years are balanced to become or to reach the level of superannuation. So the earlier you decide, the better it is. Then there are good chances that you will be reaching on the top level, and once you are at the top level, surely, as you can imagine, you can execute, you can shape, you can formulate various decisions, various policies as you think appropriate. And once you have made the decision, then don't make comparisons. So we always have this habit that, oh, look, so and so, he was such a duffer, so and so was hardly able to understand when he was with me, but now he has joined so and so service, or he has joined so and he is doing so well, etc. I was much, much better than him. Well, you may be better, but if you have decided not to join, or you have decided to join later, then instead of blaming that person, the blame obviously is on our own. Now, once in the public service also, see, there are public service does not mean only the civil services, that is only the IAS or IPS or Indian Foreign Service or Indian Revenue Service, etc. It also offers you, as you know, vast number of technical services as well as what are known as the general services. General services consist of basically Indian Administrative Service, Indian Police Service, Indian Foreign Service, Indian, all those which are known. And the technical services like the Indian Engineering Examination is there, then other Indian Ordnance Factory services are there, various technical services are there. So you have to make a decision. Once you leave the technical services and go to the general services, then the chances, as you know, of reverting back to the technical services are almost nil. You may not be permitted to get back to the, unless you start your own profession or something, that's a different matter. But if you want to join the technical service, obviously they will say that, sorry, it may not be possible at this time. Secondly, once you make the decision, it is advisable that you stick to it till you finally leave the service because of superannuation or whatever it is. And not that you leave the service now, you again think of coming back again. So that will certainly not be appropriate for your career prospects. Number two, see, in the public services, whatever you do, as I said, you are doing it as a trustee of the public. And what it means is that you will be called upon constantly to scrutiny by politicians, by judiciary, by press, by NGOs, and the public at large. Everyone is going to question you. I mean, you don't have to be afraid of just because everybody is asking you. They have their right. Like we have a right to ask anybody, they also have a right to ask anybody that what you are doing, why are you doing, how you are doing. So we should be prepared to that kind of a transparency and explain repeatedly what we have done and how we have done it. Even your personal as well as family behavior would be looked at with a magnifying glass, and people would start wondering how is it that your family members are doing this, doing that, enjoying this amenity or that facility, various things. I remember the other day somebody had gone to a place called Mahabaleshwar. Some of you might have. Has any of you visited Mahabaleshwar? A lot of you. Okay. So as you know, it is a tourist place. So one enthusiastic person there, he was sitting in one of the very famous points, spots as they call there, and noting down the number of vehicles. Said as soon as I see any public vehicle coming there, I was jotting down the number and then sending it to the head of the department, asking them what job was there for him or her to come to that particular place in a government vehicle. That is how the public will look at you. They will scrutinize each and every action of you. So be prepared for it. You cannot say that, well, during office hours, I am the public servant, and beyond office hours, I am a private person, so whatever I do or whatever, whichever way I want to work or live is my own decision. Sorry. There is nothing, once you decide to become the public service officer, everything that you do, live, is for the public. So if you are prepared to sacrifice your privacy and enjoy that kind of being a public figure, well, you should join the public service. If you feel, no, I am a person who doesn't want to be in the focus of anybody and I remain aloof and I am happy with my own office, etc., fine. There's nothing wrong in it. Now, before I go further about the preparation about the competitive services, etc., if any of you would like to stop me and ask, please welcome. I mean, you can certainly ask questions and then we'll go beyond it. Yes, please.
Preparing. So is it true or is it just, so if you could tell us something about it.
No, as I said, see, whatever you do is going to be subjected by the judicial scrutiny. Just because I do something because X or Y politician has told me to do so, it is not going to satisfy the judiciary. See, as the famous example, the story says, the person was walking and he asked the person nearby, I want to go to so and so place, how do I do it? There was a well. He said, jump in that well. And he jumped into it. Now, jumping into the well, what result it will have, you can imagine. There will be pressures. I am not saying that there will be no pressures. In fact, I am going to come to that later on also. The examination itself will test you, whether it is the written or whether it is the interview, to find out whether you are prepared to be subjected to pressures and still hold whatever is right and whatever has to be done. In spite of all the pressures will be from the mighty persons. But that does not mean that you have to leave the job as they want. Even if the politician tells you, and only thing is, you have to tell them in the language that they understand. If you tell them that if you want XYZ things to be done, and if they are done, well, the courts are not going to take it lying low, and it will be nullified. Or adverse remarks will be invited by the judiciary, and therefore it is, I can give you one example. See, I was working in the Ministry of Home Affairs, and some of you might recall the Indian passport was at that time used to be valid for 5 years. So they used to issue passport for 5 years. So Mr. Indra Kumar Gujral he became the Prime Minister. And once he became the Prime Minister, he said, all the common people are being harassed by these passport officers, by the police, by various things. And we must take very strong and very harsh action against all this. So what is to be done? He said, what we should do is, once we issue the passport, let it be valid for 20 years. Now, when he suggested that it should be passport for 20 years, we searched around the world. There were 180 countries in the world. So out of that, we found there were 100 countries which were issuing passport for 10 years. There were about 60 countries which were issuing it for 5 years. But there was no country which was doing it for 20 years. So we told him it should not be done. No country is doing it. He said, no. If no country is doing it, let India be the leader of it. We shall lead the world and have passports for 20 years. So we protested, and we had to listen to him, and we had to abide. So the passports authorities all over the country started issuing passports for 20 years. Now once these passports were issued, within no time, students like you, some of them, they started applying for visa for the US, for other countries and all that. So those countries, they immediately rejected it. They said, we don't give visa for a person who is having 20 years passport. The visa will be for a limited period, and we are not going to renew it, etc. So the government had to eat its decision, revert it, tell all persons who had been issued 20 years passports to submit them and get fresh passports issued which were valid only for 10 years. So that's how, see, the politicians, sometimes they may be able to pressurize you, but then they also learn the lessons of it. Yeah. Somebody else? Yes.
Sir, in your entire journey, you must have gone through ups and downs, dealing with every kind of people, good or bad, entire your life. So at the end of the day, when you must be sleeping in the night, it might be happening many times. You must have taken, you don't have time to take decisions. Sudden on-the-spot decision for a policeman. Some decision might have gone wrong or right, which you might not have time to think about. So what was your coping mechanism to deal with that kind of either stress or the guilt that you might have felt at the end of the day? It's very hard to digest that fact or absorb it. So what was your thought process, or what you were thinking at that time, time to deal with that?
Okay. Now, very good question. How do you resolve various things that you might be facing? I can tell you one example. See, in 1982, as some of you might have read or recall, there was a sort of a revolt by the policemen in Mumbai. And in Maharashtra, there was a large amount of discontent among the uniform services throughout the country. But in Maharashtra also, we had our own share, and we had to face it. So on August 15, 1982, some of these policemen, they decided to have, you can say, strike from the police service. They wanted to have union, they wanted all sorts of things that goes on in the industrial areas. So they wanted to have similar things in the police also. So these policemen, they went on strike in Mumbai. Now when they went on strike, many of them, along with the local hooligans, they also indulged in looting, various wrong things, arson, various all sorts of things in Mumbai. Places like Varali, places like Dadar and all that, they were witnessing all these issues. So one of my platoon was posted at Dadar railway police station. And a mob came and they indulged in berserk activities. They looted the stall on the platform and hardly any action was taken against them. The SRP platoon was there, but they did not do any action. So I was conducting the inquiry about it, and I asked the head constable who was in charge that how is it that you did not take action when you were supposed to take and prevent these kind of things. He said, he had only a stick with him and the guns were withdrawn because the then Chief Minister Antule, he had said that there was no need to give guns and all that to these policemen, so withdraw these guns. So the policemen were without guns. And he said, we were hardly having any adequate force with us, so I had to be silent, and that's how the mob indulged in the looting. So, of course, because of the rules, etc., I dismissed him from the service. But I felt that perhaps there was something which was beyond him. Even he could not have prevented the looting, etc. But at that time, we have to take stern action against him as well for not taking action to prevent the public loss. Now, you see, when you are doing certain things, what happens is that time you have taken the decision. Now, for that chair, that kind of a decision is necessary. Say, for example, a judge, when he issues the order of hanging to a criminal, it is not that the judge is very happy to hang a person. It's not easy. Similarly, when you might have read this kind of a myth that the policemen are trigger happy. In fact, I can tell you, the policemen, like any other common person, are highly afraid of opening fire. But they do so number of times. In fact, you have to encourage the police to open fire, to control the situation. Because if they don't do it, after all, you see, what is the meaning of a policeman? He is there on behalf of the entire sovereign state to enforce the sovereignty of the state. If that policeman is not going to do it, then who else is going to do it? So if you understand that, it's like Bhagavan Krishna tells Arjun that if you have faith in me, if you have followed me, then don't worry about the papa or punya. Nothing is going to stick to you, and you shall be through it. So if you have that kind of a faith, then there is no problem. You can do it. Okay, anybody else? Yeah.
Sir, one question.
Yes.
So, generally in corporates, merit is one of the key factors for promotions, and that actually is an incentive for people to give their best to the service. But speaking about public services, generally the promotions are based on seniority levels and very less emphasis is based on merit. So, what's your take on that, and how is the situation like? What actually motivates, apart from the public welfare, the civil servant?
Okay. See, the Singapore University, they run a special program for how to retain talent in the public services. So they have come out with various suggestions mentioning that how a particular officer should be rated, whether we should take into account the public perception, whether we should take into account his contribution, various things. Because in the public service, as you rightly know, there are large number of persons, and making the appraisal about a person, and that also in an detached or in an objective manner, is very difficult. And therefore, lot of subjectivity may come in. And secondly, as a result of it, number of times very, you can say, not exactly fit persons also may get promoted, or the person who deserves to be promoted out of turn may not get promoted at the right time, etc. But having said this, I can also say that in public service, see, even though there is a hierarchy, the cutting off or the cutting edge level is at various places, and you have a lot of decision making power at various levels. So actually it makes not much difference as far as the officer is concerned. In fact, you will be surprised to know that there are a number of officers who in fact prefer not to be promoted in the public service. Say for example, an inspector who is working at the police station in Mumbai. Now if you tell him tomorrow you are promoted as an assistant commissioner and you will be above the inspector, he comes and pleads with you, I'm sorry, please do not promote me. Let me remain as an inspector only. What happens is, see, there is in management, there is a story called What's Wrong with Joe? Some name is there. Now what happens is, the person who is doing the menial things, a person who is doing the lower level, ground level activities, he does not want himself to be detached and upgraded. He is happy with that only. The public services is something like that. Public service officers mostly are happy with when they are interacting with the public, they are having a lot of interaction and all that. Say for example, somebody in the beginning was asking me a question that many of the top students, they prefer to join the Indian administrative service, then Indian police service, then this, that, etc. And is this the right trend or something? Now to tell you the truth, say when you join the Indian administrative service, you are district magistrate or collector or DC, as the different names are called, in a place or in a district, when you are about, say, between 5 years to 10 years of service. Now once that is over, you move to the secretariat. And once you move to the secretariat, nobody knows you except your peon or your PA. Because like there are so many persons walking in and out of the place, you are also one of them. On the other hand, in the police side, whether he is a constable, whether he is an inspector, whether he is a SP or a commissioner, all of them, they are moving with lot of fanfare, and they are enjoying various amenities, facilities. So promotion in the grade, does it really satisfy the person, or it is something beyond it? That is a question which we have to understand. Every time, I mean, we have a normal myth that when you are promoted, you are happy. When you are elevated, you are happy. But it is not really so in many situations. Okay. So if you permit, we'll go beyond these questions. You want to ask? Okay, please. Okay. We'll go beyond it. Okay. Now once we have some of these decisions made, I would say we should make an informed decision. Because whether we are joining a MNC, whether we are starting our own business, whether we are on our own, in our own enterprise, or whether we want to join a public service. Now the calculations can be different. But at the end of it, I can say, long ago, I was doing a course in one of the Bajaj School of Management. So the dean there, she was telling us that if you look at if you have a, say, matrix in which you identify various things like how much money I get, how much status I get, how much facilities I get, how much this, that, etc. So like this, say, let us imagine there are 10 things for which we keep on aspiring. Now, if you see various professionals and allot this kind of a value to every unit, the total at the end of it, if you find out, it does not differ much when you are looking back at it. Some may get more money, some may get more status, some may get more recognition, some may get more amenities, some, some are fascinated by travels abroad, some are various things. But at the end of the day, almost you can say all of them are at par with a marginal change here or there. So you have to decide what path I want to follow. You can decide, no, I want to be in MNC, fine. You have that path possible to you. You decide I am going to start my own enterprise, wonderful. You start it, your sky is the limit, you can reach any level. You want to be a faculty, no problem, you can be in any of the academic institutes. You want to be in the public service, you're most welcome, you can join the public service. So there is nothing that X is good, Y is bad, something is this, that, etc. There is nothing of that sort. We have to decide how I am going to proceed. Once you do it, if you make an informed decision, I am sure you will be a happy person. So happiness is more important. Now coming back to the question of preparing for these examinations. Now, well, let me make it very clear that it is a test of your personality. It is a personality which you have been developing, having from your day one in your school, right up to the time when you appear for the examination or when you clear it. So there is nothing that tomorrow is the examination and today I will start, or I will mug up all the answers and I will be through success, I will be coming out with flying colors. So it is not like that. It is a hard work and you have to work for it for years together. What it expects is that, like a normal person, you should keep your eyes and ears open to the happenings around you. Whatever is happening around you, if you take keen interest in it, maybe a simple example like Jallikattu. Some of you might be coming from Tamil Nadu, I don't know. Anybody from Tamil Nadu here? Okay. You can tell us how and why everyone in Tamil Nadu is feeling very strongly about Jallikattu. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, people are having different opinion about it, and most basically what I feel is like people are feeling it's like globalization issue, and abroad companies are trying to dump their products in India. So this is the first step for them to come. So more people are going against. So that's a basic stuff for Jallikattu, and it's a tradition which we follow.
Correct.
That is more important.
So what is important is, whenever an event like this is happening around you, you should be inquisitive. You should be trying to understand, as he was trying to suggest, whether it is the economic factors, whether it is the historical factors, whether it is the societal various other issues, which are all leading to this kind of a protest where the government is required to take a particular decision in a particular way. So if you try to understand it, then you have to suggest how to improve things. I mean, understanding is one thing, and analyzing it, identifying the causes and coming up with a solution for it is the real answer for it. Say for example, we have one of the IIT graduates with us in the Indian Police Service, the young officer posted in Gadchiroli. As you know, Gadchiroli is bordering with Maharashtra and Chhattisgarh, all those areas affected by Naxal issues. Oh, it has a vast amount of jungles, it has hills, a remote area, difficult place. Now, if some action is taken, if some Jawan is injured, if somebody is opening fire, if something is going wrong somewhere, now to know that also is very difficult in a remote place like that. But he came up with a solution. He said, we shall have a networking, we shall have various gadgets, instruments, etc. And through that, we shall overcome this problem. And he said, okay, resources, no problem. Whatever amount you want is granted. Go ahead. Now, once he was given this kind of a clearance, he went ahead, executed it, and some of you will recall last December when there was an assembly session in Nagpur, the Chief Minister of Maharashtra was in a position to address a video conference live with some persons who were in the remotest possible post in Gadchiroli. So that kind of a technological solution, that kind of a challenge, you can take, you can address it, you can resolve it. And this is possible because of the interest that you take in the problems that are around you. In fact, see, they say that given an opportunity, whether I should work in US, whether I should work in UK, whether I should work in some advanced country, or whether I should work in country which is yet to develop or developing like India. The answer is, if you have the spirit to fight, if you have the spirit to prove yourself, India is the right place for opportunities. So this issue of women's security, for example, everybody knows that women feel highly insecure, they are highly vulnerable, people may do molestation, people may do rapes, people may do various wrong things at various places. Now, that kind of stories we keep on reading. Some of them they may be true, some of them they may not be true, whatever may be the part of the investigation. But the fact of the matter is that it does send a message to all the women, whether they are young, whether they are in the middle age, whether they are senior citizens, that they are insecure. Now, to overcome this kind of a problem, we came up with a solution. I said, we are going to launch an app called Pratisad. So through this kind of an app which you can download in your mobile, and once you have registered your name, you can also write the name of your father, brother, whatever husband, etc. you want, the number, the name of the person, and there is a social emergency button provided there, red button. The moment you press it, the message goes immediately to all the beat marshals, police beat marshals who are in that surrounding area of 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, that it can be defined. The location of the person is known by the beat marshal, and immediately the beat marshal starts proceeding to that particular location, to the person. And the control room is able to navigate the movement of the beat marshal to the person who requires it. So that kind of a monitoring is possible. Now, through this kind of a mobile app, we were able to secure the women folk in a large extent. Another complaint generally we have is, we used to have, that when you have an incident, first of all you will feel whether I should report it. If I report it, whether I will be myself subjected to a lot of inquiries. And how will I go there? How much time I have to waste for going there and all that? Or what will be the reaction of the police officer when he receives me? Various things, various apprehensions are there in the mind of a person. What we did was, we launched another app called Police Mitra Maharashtra. Now it's again app available in your Android or Apple, and once you register in it, it provides you all the helplines of the police at one screen. Whether it is anti-corruption, whether it is terrorism, whether it is cyber security, whether it is loss of your vehicle, whether it is women problem, whether you are traveling by train and there is an issue, or whatever issue you want to have on the security side, and all the police helplines, whether it is narcotics, all sorts of things, all helplines are provided at one place. So just by tapping it, you can reach the police. Number two, it also enables you to send any video, any photograph, any digital file instantaneously. Suppose if you are in your own profession and you want to work with the police, we have a concept called Police Mitra. It enables you, so you can mention what area you would like to work, where you want to work, when you want to work, and the police can accordingly arrange for it, and you can do it. Whatever work you have done, you can upload it on the website through this app also. So various such things, if you take help of the technology, the challenges, the problems which appear to be intractable, which appear to be very difficult, can become very simple. And they can be solved with your brilliance, with your technological applications. Now when you are applying it or when you are doing it, what you have to basically do is not just look at it from the technical point of view. That means you have to look at it from the legal aspects, you have to look at it from the economical issues, you have to look at it from the political side, you have to look at it from the social side, you have to look at it from the psychological side. So whatever solutions you have come up, suggested by you, they should be implementable, they should be practical, and people should be ready to accept them, so that when you implement it, even if it is subjected to judicial scrutiny, you should be able to go through it and justify it. If you can do it, well, that is all. See, the students coming from the technical background, they are very good, but many a times they forget that it is not just the mathematical or logical angle which is enough to understand the issue. There are things which are beyond it. There are things like somebody was mentioning just now about this Jallikattu, for example. Now, whether everybody may say that no, the prevention of cruelty to animals is more important, but there is something beyond that. You have to understand that as well. So if you look at any issue from all these various angles, legal, economical, political, social, psychological, then you have made a comprehensive study about it, and then whatever solution you are doing, if it is practical, I am sure certainly people would welcome it. Now, what are the desired skills for the public service examinations? Basically, it calls for an aptitude for the public service. If you feel that yes, you are fit for it, then you are certainly welcome. You should be also prepared to explain the objectives to everyone in a repeated style. Don't get tired of it. I remember once one joint secretary working in Government of India, he was mentioning that 75% of my time goes in explaining what I have done, and 25% I do what I want to do. Well, that is as a public service, that is a part and parcel of our nature of the job. So we need not get afraid of it. You should not say that, oh look, I'm doing such a wonderful thing, I've done such an excellent work, and so is coming and now asking me how I did it, why I did it. Okay, if he is asking it, we should say what I have done, how I have done, and how that is the right thing I did. Like demonetization. The Prime Minister is being called upon to explain each and every time now, to explain what has he done right thing, how he did it, whether he did it against the wishes of the Reserve Bank, all sorts of things. So he will be called upon. And we don't have to be afraid. We have to explain. We have to tell the people that, look, we have done it for the right cause. We have done it for the larger benefit of the society. And therefore, even if it may appear to be not so good in the short course, in the short time, still that is what is required. To tell you an example, say I was working as a commissioner of police in Nagpur. Now, there are a lot of dacoities, a lot of robberies keep on taking place. So the high value shops, they are the targets. Like there are goldsmiths, jewelers, all such fellows. So they will be because naturally what they have in their possession, that is the attraction for all the dacoits and robbers. So I called these goldsmiths association members and told them that, look, the dacoities are taking place and they may keep on increasing. I suggest that you have a CCTV cameras on your shops. Now the first reaction was, I am running this job for last 30 years. I am doing this shop for last 25 years. We did not have this kind of a dacoity at any time. Why should I have it? I said, you don't have to wait for the dacoity to take place in your shop. You have to take preventive measures for it. So there was a lot of reluctance, a lot of resistance, even to have a CCTV camera. They said, why should we spend money? Why should we do this? Why should I said, nothing doing. Now I am prescribing you, like a doctor tells the patient, your health requires this medicine. Same is the situation now. Your shop needs a CCTV camera fitted and you shall do it. And we got it done. Now we had to enforce the decision with some kind of a reluctance on their part. But once we did it, within no time, the jewelers, the same goldsmiths who used to go on strike every now and then, they started coming with flowers and bouquets to me, congratulating me that now we are feeling very safe. We are not having any dacoity for last so many months and whatever period. And we feel that whatever you told us was the best thing for us. So a lot of times people do not know what the things are good for them, what good things are. So we have to encourage them and we have to explain them. Number two, and the consequence of it is, you should be also very good in drafting skills. Now, drafting means your oral presentations as well as written presentations. Because if you are making an oral presentation, well, people can certainly see you, you can convince them. But if it is a written presentation, well, as you know, it will be a faceless thing. No one knows who you are. But if your words are proper, if your ideas are good, you can win the battle. And not only that, you should be also prepared to address various meetings at various forums. It may be the chambers of commerce, it may be students, it may be larger, as I said, the members of some particular profession, or whatever it may be. You will be called upon to address the public meetings. And you have to do it in a convincing style so that you are the leader of the job, you are the leader of the people. Now, it is not necessary, like you will recall, when you appeared for the competitive exam for IITs, maybe I think, how many? 5 lakh students had appeared? Or how many in your time? More? 13? Okay. So 13 lakh students appeared and maybe hardly how many were selected? 3,000? 10,000. Okay, good number. So 10,000 were selected. That means all those 12 lakhs and 90,000 were not selected. The same is the situation for the Public Service Commission UPSC examinations as well. Not less than 10 lakh students appear every year, and about 1,000 students, candidates are selected. Time is up? Okay. So I'll stop, or you give me 5 minutes? Okay, as you say. Now when you are doing things, well, you may succeed, you may not succeed. If you don't succeed, nothing much has happened. No great wrong. Just forget it and move on. If I am successful, wonderful. Join it. If I am not selected, forget it. So take it easy. You don't have to worry about the selection or non-selection of it. How to do the preparations? See, the IT permits you. Now good softwares are available. What I suggest is, these softwares which when I was in US, I used to make use of it almost 15 years ago. The software available where the editorials or the opinion pages of various newspapers in the world, they are collated and made available. So take any issue and immediately you can see how the Indian Express writes on it, how the Hindu writes on it, how the Times of India, how the papers in Sri Lanka write about it, how papers in Bangladesh write about it, how papers in Japan comment on it, how papers in Europe do it, what is the comment on. So, it's a global situation where any issue, how it is analyzed and commented about. So that will give you a complete forum, complete exposure. Also make use of the journals. The journals is very important to read because of the topical analysis in it. And also make extensive use of the books on the subject. Because whatever you prepare yourself, see, your solutions are important. The other day, the chairman of the UPSC, Mr. Agarwal, he retired recently, he was mentioning that there are a number of these coaching classes which are in plenty in every place nowadays. And every student feels because of the peer pressure and other things that he has to join it. Because if you don't join it, that means you are not going to get selected. That is the myth which people have. But the truth is that when students from these kind of units, centers come, their entire thinking is in a particular way. And therefore, it lacks originality. You maintain your originality. You are a bright person. You are a brilliant student. You understand various issues in depth. You prepare it and you present your ideas. Your ideas are important. Not what Agarwal has suggested or what Rao has suggested or what some other academy has suggested. That is not important. What you are analyzing, what you are projecting, what you are suggesting, that is the critical part of it. Start writing briefly, just to make it a habit, and then write extensively on various issues. Writing makes man perfect. All your ideas will get articulated. Mention the problem, how others have looked at the issue, and what you think is the correct solution. Now, whatever solution you suggest, there is nothing like right or wrong. In public matters, we cannot say that this is right and this is wrong. So feel free. As far as the syllabus question papers, the model answers, all these are available on the website of the UPSC. You can look at it. Finally, I would say the interview, as I said in the beginning, is the test of your personality. Now, many students are able to do well in the written examinations, but fail in the orals. Don't be shy. Don't get pressurized because one or two members of the board have challenged you or said that whatever you are saying is wrong. You can still maintain your compose, can tell them, I have analyzed this problem. I'll just give you one example in my interview and stop. So there is a Professor Swaroop, who was the Vice Chancellor of Delhi University that time. He was on the board. And the question posed to me was about the Euro-communism. As you know, that time the Euro-communism and the Russian communism and Chinese communism, so that was the running of the day. So I explained him how Euro-communism is different from the Russian communism. Professor Swaroop started challenging. I said, nothing doing, this is wrong, that is wrong, and does not mean what Italian communists are doing or what the others are doing, that is different. I said, no, what all these European communists are saying is basically our country comes first. And we are not going to be pressurized by Russia just because of the dictatorship of the proletariat. So everywhere in the world, everybody must think in the identical manner. We are different. We are going to first, as President Trump is saying now, America comes first. So we will say Italy comes first, Portugal comes first. And that's how I did it. So finally the chairman had to intervene and said that yes, Mr. Swaroop, please let him have whatever he wants to say, and that is okay. So I will stop it here, and if there are any questions, most welcome.